Alright, so it is officially 2023 and many of you are switching from Adobe XD or Sketch into Figma. And I upload this decision because I, as a full-time UX designer, use Figma every day because it is one of the design tools that actually listens to its users' needs and provides it as fast as possible. This tutorial will act as a crash course and will cover the 5 most important things you must master on Figma so that you can use it as efficiently as possible, as fast as possible. Now, first we have Figma frames, which are the backbone of this application, and it has 2 superpowers, and that is constraints and auto layout. For example, look at this button. The text inside is constrained center for horizontal direction. That means if the button wants to have larger size text, the text would stay at the center, and it does. This is why constraints are useful. You can use it to align items not only center but to the left, right, top, bottom as well. Yet they have a limitation. One limitation they have is if the text changes, you see the constraints don't hold. Our text stops being at the center of the button. So Figma came up with the auto layout feature. Auto layout lets the parent control how his children will reside inside. In auto layout, our button problem is solved as the text scales. It still stays at the center. One more feature that might be beneficial in auto layout is picking your margins between elements on screens, and that the margins can also be negative. This gives you great flexibility in trying new designs such as the profile header here. While auto layout and constraints help solve us the problem of responsive design, where we have to take a, let's say, a mobile screen top navigation into, let's say, a tablet, it doesn't help us solve when we are trying to scale our design systems, whether that is actually using an element over and over again, and how to make sure that we can change this element as fast as possible, even if it repeats across 50 different places. Let's take this beautiful black button for example. I might use this button in 2 different screens or 50 different screens, and you might be pretty good at copying and pasting, so why does this matter? It matters when we realize this same button actually now needs to have red background in every place, so you will need to go through the 50 different screens and update the background color in this button 50 times. This is inefficient, and this is where Figma Components come in. Figma Components lets you identify a parent button where if you make changes to this parent button, the changes cascades to all of its children, or in other words, copies. So you need to make the changes to only one place instead of 50. While using components is efficient, we have a new problem. What if we wanted our children button to not look exactly like our parent button? What if we wanted a button that had blue background sometimes, or a button that had border radius, or a secondary type button with no fill color? Do we just have to create 10 different components to account for all these cases? No, we don't, and shouldn't, as things would get out of hand very fast. That is where Figma Variants come in. Instead of creating a component for each type of those buttons, we only have one main button component, but inside we will have different types, aka variations. Just press the plus icon in the properties section and tap variant. Now when it comes to variants, we need to understand what property and value means. So property is the attribute we have to differentiate these different variants. The value we give in each variant for a particular property will let Figma differentiate each other. For example, for our buttons, let's add a new variant, and I will make the property called hierarchy, as the first button will be a primary button with filled color, and the second variant will be the secondary button with only strokes. Now our components is ready once we get an instance of this component. You see how on the right side we can pick the different types depending on the value in the hierarchy property, and it works wonderfully. Now, in a normal design project, we often repeat 2 distinct things, which is color styles and text styles. So instead of copying and pasting them, I actually advise you to create them in your design system earlier so that you can save more time. And Figma does let you easily do that. To create a color system, you usually create a big frame and put your colors in shapes of circles or rectangles if you wish. Once you are done, you click on each shape and in the fill section tap the style icon, and then tap the plus icon on the card that just popped up. You can name your color style here. I would advise you to name the color and use the numbers from 100 to 1000 to indicate the amount of saturation in the color. And don't forget to separate them with the slash because that actually helps you categorize and see your colors better. When it comes to text style, we create a frame just like we did it with our colors, and we want to usually just tell them via size first and then the font weight second. So to create the text style, click on the text and in the right panel, tap the style icon. Then click the plus icon that will let you add your text style. Just like colors, we will first pick the type such as the header, then we put a dash and then font weight. Then we will repeat this process till we finish all the header types with various font weights. Then we will move to body. All the previous sections help you understand some of its Figma's features. One way to get more efficient is to actually learn some shortcuts in any kind of a design tool you use. So here are the 5 most popular shortcuts that I use on Figma, and if you learn them, you will design faster. The shortcut for using the frame tool is F for both Mac and Windows, but most often you will turn an already created element into frame. The shortcut for that on Mac is Command plus Option plus G. While creating frames are great, most often you will be just duplicating elements over and over again, such as buttons or drop downs. The shortcut for duplicating an element on Figma is Command D, and if you have, let's say, button next to each other, Figma also repeats the distance between those elements, which is very useful. Speaking of text, one key thing you will use is a text shortcut T to actually create text, and I find myself combining this with a Command B a lot if I want the text to be bolder as well. Now, if you are working on a complex project, you will be doing a lot of zooming in and out and in and out. The shortcut for zooming into a selection, which is what I use zooming in the most often, is Shift plus 2. Finally, you will color a lot of the UI elements you design, such as buttons or toggles or let's say top navigation. One shortcut I use often is to shift from a fill value to stroke, especially for buttons, and the shortcut for that is Shift plus X. Hey guys, thanks for watching this Figma crash course for 2023. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you are unsatisfied and you want to do a deeper dive on Figma, watch this video next, it will blow your mind.